What's going on? Matt Savoca here from the Awesemo Fantasy Football Channel, and here with my buddy Nick Lepri, another Dynasty-focused episode, and this time we are going with a one-quarterback startup draft. These mock drafts are super helpful this time of year now that the rookies know where they are, the landing spots are picked, and we've seen a little bit of coach reports out of minicamp. Those post-draft pressers can also give us a lot of information, and we've got this a little bit of dead zone before training camps get started at the end of July. So a great time to see where our dynasty rankings lie. Here to break it down with me today is Nick Lepri. Follow him at Notorious FNTSY. Nick, how you doing today?
I'm doing great. I'm very excited to do this because it is a completely different exercise when doing a one quarterback draft compared to Superflex. Things look widely different, so it's going to be very fun to see how we construct a team differently compared to the Superflex draft. Because if you guys watched the last draft, we did two quarterbacks in the first two rounds, and I'm not even wanting to take a quarterback in the first two rounds at all of this draft.
I completely agree. And I want to do something else. I want to throw a little bit of a curveball at you. Last time we had a bit of a discussion, not a long discussion, but a bit of a discussion about the general average length of a dynasty league, despite them saying that they will last forever. I want to do something here and draft as much for the future as possible while not sacrificing year one upside. So we don't want to do anything crazy youthful, but I do want to draft assuming that this dynasty league is going to last 10, 20, maybe even more, 30 years, something like that. So something to keep in mind here. Let's randomize our draft position, and I'll just roll 12-sided dice, and we have come up with number 11 as our draft pick. So end of the first round is the team we will take it, that 11th overall pick as you got there. And I'm ready to start when you are, sir.
All right, let's do it. I like pick number 11 normally in redraft drafts, but in Dynasty, if I'm being honest with you guys, I kind of prefer to be a little bit higher up the draft board.
Definitely agree. Oh, well. Oh, well.
It is what it is, though.
That's right. The draft has started predictably. No quarterbacks. Jonathan Taylor, Cooper Kupp at 102. I get it, but boy, I'd rather have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, or CeeDee Lamb, but we don't get a chance at any of them because they're all taken. They're all off the board. I will leave this to you for this first pick overall. I'm sure I'll have feelings about it strongly as we get into this draft.
All right, so where we are sitting right now, it's been pretty even between running backs and receivers. Like I said off the rip of the video, there's no way we're going to go quarterback here. I think a lot of people will go for the complete youth answer, which is let's take Kyle Pitts in the first round. But if I'm being honest with you, with how this league is set up with three receivers, three flexes, I just do not view the tight end position as a big premium in this league. If this was a tight end premium league, then maybe I would think differently. But based upon how the roster is constructed, I am not going to be looking that way. And I'm just going to go with the best player available in my book that I think will still be playing for at least a couple of more years. I think if you want to go with the youth answer, it is kind of hard to do at pick number 11, right? Because Javonte Williams is gone, CeeDee Lamb is gone, all these big guys that are going to be heavy hitters for the next couple of years and potentially 10 more years are already off the board. So my answer here would be to go with Davante Adams. Would you agree with me? Would you have wanted to go Deebo Samuel or somewhere else?
I actually have Davante Adams pretty far down my board. He's going to be 29 and a half years old as the season starts. I think we only have 1 to 2 years more viability from him. He's going to be great this year, but I have him 30th on the board. I will not stop you if you want to take him here.
Okay, so then who do you have ranked higher? Do you have Dalvin Cook ranked higher?
Well, I've got a lot of players ranked higher. We're at 11th overall, but I do have some of these top-tier running backs ranked higher. I still would draft players like Christian McCaffrey, Saquon Barkley, but if you wanted to go youth, you could go J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, or if you needed to go wide receiver here, I don't mind a player like T. Higgins, Stephon Diggs even, A.J. Brown, absolutely fine with any of those.
Okay, let's go with Stephon Diggs then. I think.
Okay, it's the same idea, like a round one wide receiver this year with I think an even better locked-in quarterback situation.
Yeah. All right. So we went with Stephon Diggs. Now, normally the reason why I would go with Davante Adams is because I feel as though I may be a little bit more confident that he does have 3-4 more years left, where it doesn't seem like you are as confident.
That's really the difference there, and only time will tell, sir. So none of us can be right today. So here is where I'm actually looking at that premium running back for 2 to 3 more years. I actually have Christian McCaffrey here in my rankings. If you wanted to go with youth, again, we've got like a trio of running backs. But if you also wanted to go AJ Brown here, I don't think that's a bad choice at all.
Okay, so Christian McCaffrey was already picked, so we can't take him.
Oh, that's right. I'm sorry. I was like, I was surprised to see him not off the board, but that's just on me. So I do have some of these top tier youthful running backs with question marks like J.K. Dobbins, Travis Etienne, Joe Mixon.
Mhm.
A.J. Brown, again, is my highest wide receiver, or T. Higgins, also in that elite Cincinnati offense.
Okay, so you're definitely not in on taking a quarterback here, right? You don't want the Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs stack.
As nice as that is, I don't think I need it right now.
Okay, I agree with you on that. So I think we're just going to start off double wide receiver. AJ Brown is a lot younger than Stephon Diggs. AJ Brown still has a lot of years ahead of him, and I think in Philadelphia, where he should be for the next foreseeable future at least, I think
Mm-hmm.
AJ Brown is going to be very dominant as the clear number one guy there. I am very low right now on Devontae Smith and Dynasty because I really think AJ Brown's going to take over.
That dude's a stud. A.J.
All
Brown,
right.
I'm into it.
All right, so we went with AJ Brown. So we started the draft Stephon Diggs, AJ Brown, which is pretty much not my strategy at all if we're doing a redraft league. But in a best or not a best ball league, in a dynasty league, I do like going wide receiver early because the shelf life is just significantly longer when you compare someone who is AJ Brown's age at the wide receiver position compared to a running back at the same age.
100%. Very well said. I was hoping Saquon would come back around to us. Okay, so we got a bunch of running backs off the board. Alvin Kamara, Dalvin Cook, Brees Hall of the Jets, Nick Chubb, Antonio Gibson, Cam Akers, and then Saquon. T. Higgins would have been my pick. He got taken by Team 7 at the 3-7. Where are you looking here as we get this one started?
Yeah, so I would be looking right now. Again, I am pretty off of tight ends in terms of dynasty. I'm just not someone that is going to pull the trigger super early, unless, of course, there was immense value, right? If we're sitting in the 5th round and there's a George Kittle, then of course I'm going to draft him. But in the 3rd round here, I definitely would not look that way. I do like Joe Burrow, but since it is a one quarterback league, I would much rather just wait a couple of rounds and go with a player that is not the consensus top 5, but I think could be inside the top 5. So I would like to go running back here. My favorite pick right now available would be J.K. Dobbins. There is obviously some worry that maybe they don't fully commit to J.K. Dobbins. They do use other running backs around him. But at the end of the day, he is so young. He didn't play last year, but I think he's got a nice career ahead of him. And I think that in Baltimore, that is one of the best situations to be in because of how run heavy they are. So I'd go Dobbins.
Smash it. I got him top 15. Easy pick for me. Great,
All right.
great explanation.
Alrighty. So now we move to our next pick here once the computer selects the guy for us. So
there goes
JK,
Burrow.
Yeah, J.K. Dobbins, Burrow, Kittle. We're back up. Who are you looking at here? You want to go double running back or maybe look elsewhere?
So I still think that there are wide receivers that, when healthy, are in the elite tier. Am I correct that Terry McLaurin is still available?
Yes.
Am I correct that Chris Godwin is still available?
Yes, he is ranked lower, but yeah, he is available.
Can you believe that Chris Godwin is younger than Terry McLaurin?
I can because I knew that.
Chris Godwin is my pick if you're asking me right now. But any of those wide receivers in this tier, and I even include players like Michael Pittman, and if you wanted to, it's aggressive, Rashad Bateman, it's his time in Baltimore. Any of those in this wide receiver tier are players that I would love to have. If you want to go running back, the player is Austin Eckler, who could have a top season this year, but is 27 years old.
Gotcha. So we're going to go ahead here and go with a wide receiver. My pick, normally, again, I'm not someone who is just looking super into getting the youngest team. I'd take Mike Evans knowing maybe he's got 2 years left, maybe with Tom Brady, and he's just going to dominate. But Chris Godwin's going to have the longer career from here on out. And I think that if healthy early on in the season, again, I'm not a doctor, so I don't know if he's going to be able to play week 1 or not, but maybe he is. And if that is the case, then we have probably the best wide receiver core in this league with Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, and Chris Godwin to start off the team. So I like that pick a ton.
Ooh, yeah. We start off with Tom Brady. They're not going to have no one at quarterback, and Chris Godwin, at least we know what team he's going to be on for years to come. He came into the league so young, and now at 26 years old, it feels like he's been in the league forever. It's kind of funny how that works. All right, there goes Your boy Devontae Smith at the 5'10". I kid. Uh, this is another one where I would go wide receiver again, but I think for me, it's pretty obvious who I have. It's a speculative pick, but it's Rashad Bateman for me.
Bateman. So you like Bateman over Jerry Judy?
Um, yeah, I do.
Okay. So what did you want to go with the next pick? Because I think realistically we could get Bateman with the next pick. So unless you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Bateman on here is ranked 79. So the likelihood
Wow.
that
I
a
don't think he's gonna
person,
go. I think that's a little unrealistic. We got Traylon Burks available to us at this point.
Mhm.
That would be my pick then if Pittman is still available for next round.
Okay.
Traylon Burks
So
could
you
easily be wide receiver 1 in Tennessee right now.
okay, so you want to go Burks and then go with Bateman?
Sure.
Okay. So we're gonna go Burks, and then we're gonna have a nice stack. Not really a stack because we don't have Lamar Jackson, but in a way, kind of, with J.K. Dobbins and with Rashad Bateman. How do you find the queue? It's right here. Boom. So we got Bateman and we got Burks. Now, do you normally look to go this heavy on wide receiver early in a dynasty startup, or is it just kind of how the draft fell to us? Because normally I am kind of like this as well. I like to go very heavy on the wide receiver position because the shelf life is just significantly longer.
This was the strategy du jour in the mid 2010s. Everyone was saying in 2015 through 18, get your wide receivers. They last so long. You want to latch on to
Yeah.
those Calvin Johnson types. It's kind of gone away now. It's never out of style, in my opinion. You got to hit on your players, is also how I feel. We have a good collection of win now and youth in this bunch. I will say that. All right, we are back on the board. Another tier of wide receivers, a very, very wide receiver heavy part of the draft, and some more
Yeah.
speculative running backs. You got a pick that catches your eye at this point in the draft?
Yeah, I think eventually we are going to have to go with quarterback. I think right now, if we are going for that ultimate youth kind of thought process, I think Trey Lance would be a smash here. I am pretty confident that Trey Lance is going to be the guy by week number 1. It seems like they want to trade away Jimmy Garoppolo. Will they actually do it? I don't
Mm-hmm.
know. But right now, if we're looking for that youth, I think Trey Lance could potentially be a top 5 quarterback in fantasy football for a bunch of years from now. And I really think that right now in the 7th round, that's probably the cheapest price you will ever have to pay for Trey Lance. I would definitely take Lance over Hurts, over Watson. So
How
now
do you
that he's
feel?
available to 7-Eleven, I'd take him.
Yeah, how do you feel about Lance versus a player like Russell Wilson?
I would definitely prefer to have the upside of Lance. I think Russell Wilson's significantly safer. So if you're looking to be safer, then go ahead and take Wilson. But again, if we're looking more to build for the future, that maybe this team doesn't win this year, I think if Lance is the starter, he learns a lot. Then maybe next year he really is a top 5 guy. If he's not this year.
That's all I needed. So you got a tier break. I have them in the same exact tier, but you broke it down. Lance is the pick. I like it.
Alrighty, yeah. And if we took Jerry Judy, I think I would have actually just made the argument to take Wilson because of that.
I like it.
Alrighty, so
Sanders
we
and
went with
Pollard. Yep.
Lance, yeah, Sanders and Pollard. What are your thoughts on taking a guy like Pollard in the 8th round, who I feel like doesn't have an ounce of a chance to break past Zeke, at least this year?
I love talented players in Dynasty, and Tony Pollard has proved nothing other than he's a talented player and he's on a good
Mhm.
team. I don't mind players like that.
Okay,
We can't project workload all season long as much as we like to think we can here in May.
gotcha. So are you looking at all at tight end here, or are we just going to punt the tight end position? Because I think a draft strategy for me, normally it's either you take one of the early guys or you kind of just wait.
Yeah, I think I'm okay waiting. What are our running backs available on the board that you're seeing in ADP?
Yeah, right now it is Kareem Hunt, Michael Carter, Damian Pierce, Cordero Patterson, who also plays receiver, James Robinson, Chase Edmonds. My favorite running back still available is Edmonds, but I also like Damian Pierce a lot. But Damian Pierce, there's a huge risk there. Maybe he just doesn't play at all.
Yeah. Honestly, I feel like we could push it. Maybe get a player like Rashad White, who I'm very high on in Tampa Bay.
Mhm.
Um, maybe even James Conner. I don't hate the Chase Edmonds pick. To me here, I think I'm just stacking up at that wide receiver position. Honestly, I'm just taking best wide receiver available.
Yeah, I would as well.
All
Who
right.
do you think's the best available? Do you think it is Sutton, Ayuk, maybe Juju now in Kansas City,
For me,
or
it's
none of those
Sutton
guys?
and then
Okay.
Juju.
Okay. For me, it would be Sutton as well. I think people are pretty low on Allen Robinson right now, and I understand he's not some spring chicken, but as the number two receiver on one of the best offenses in the NFL, where you're just guaranteed not to face the number one
I would
corner
take
ever.
A-Rob here too, but
Okay.
up to you.
Yeah, let's take Allen Robinson to be a little bit different. I like
This guy's
Sutton a
winning
lot,
leads.
but I think that Sutton may not be as good as I potentially project. Like if Jerry Jeudy goes off, then I think Sutton might be screwed. But that can also be said about Cooper Kupp and Robinson. But we saw last year that even with Cooper Kupp getting an outrageous amount of targets, receptions, all that, the other receivers could still eat.
Mm-hmm. Well said. And I believe, have won the flex. We now have 3 wide receivers and 3 flex wide receivers available to us. I do think it's advantageous to go running back or tight end at this point. And what's really nice at this point in the draft, only 3 running backs have come off the board since we last picked. 2 of them we talked about. Actually, all 3. Kareem Hunt, Michael Carter, Damian Pierce. Oh, and also James Robinson there at the end. We still have Chase Edmonds on the board after going all the way around. How about that?
Yeah, I think honestly, if we were going for the win now type of team, I'd probably just draft Devin Singletary here instead because I think Devin
Ooh.
Singletary this year could have a lot of impact. I think Chase Edmonds as well could. And it's just that in Miami, there really is just so many skill position players that are there that it may be a too many cooks in the kitchen scenario. And Chase Edmonds maybe falls out, especially
That's what
if
I'm
Raheem
worried about.
Mostert's able to stay healthy. But when has Raheem Mostert ever stayed healthy?
Yeah,
So
that's not good analysis, though. Bottom line, I have Chase Edmonds 31st in my running back rankings. I do have players like James Conner in terms of win now, a little bit ahead. In terms of win later, I have Rashad White ahead. But Chase Edmonds would be the play for me if you're just looking for a combination of floor and ceiling.
Okay, gotcha. So you don't like Cordero Patterson at all? Because I'm
Way
so
too old.
confused on what to do with Cordero Patterson.
Way too old. 31 and a half, 32 years old this year. When he shifted into the running back position, he actually, yeah, there goes Rashad White and Cordero Patterson. So we don't have to talk about it anymore. But he actually lost receptions work when he shifted into the running back position. So he got more touches, but they were less valuable, became less efficient, and he's old. To me, if James Conner is still available, that is a player that can help us shore up this position from a point standpoint because we did not spend a lot of draft capital on it. Devin Singletary is right there in my rankings too. So if you wanted to convince me Singletary, I am so okay with that.
All right, well, we're gonna have to take Singletary because Connor was gone in the 6th round, right before we took Bateman, or
See,
right
these
after
are
we took
some
Bateman, actually.
random players that I just don't cross off, and then you have to look at me like I have 3 heads. Like, are you blind? Of course. Okay, well that makes it easy for me.
All right, so you would rather go Singletary over a tight end here because that is my thought process as well. I am not in love at all with Fant. I don't think McBride really has any chance of doing anything this year.
Yep, absolutely not. I actually like Albert O more than any of them if he's still there on the board.
He is, and
So
I agree with that.
there you go. So there's our running back pick. Go for it here and see what comes back around to us.
I mean, we're pretty much, I would say, almost guaranteed to get a tight end. I would think that we want because so many people have already taken tight ends early, and the team 7 already has 2 tight ends.
Yeah, I don't mind double tapping actually and just being done with the position because I'd rather have 2 shots here at the tight end position where we know we get usage instead of just playing around in the tight end basement, right? Like I think there's a huge drop off in just a moment. We could go Albert O, and that leaves us available to do something like Dawson Knox or Rob Gronkowski or Mike Gesicki's gone. Hunter Henry, your boy, if still
Yeah.
there.
All right. So, real quick, I do want to go tight end here, but when you take a guy like Trey Lance, does that make you a little bit more trigger happy when taking a second quarterback? Like, do you think maybe because of the situation we should draft, say, a Derek Carr, or are you fine just continuing to wait at the quarterback position? Because there is pretty much a clear fall off in my book after the next couple of quarterbacks.
You know what? I hadn't even taken that into consideration. I have a huge fall off after Derek Carr as well. There are some dynasty ranking sites that have Derek Carr in that fall off tier, like it's already too late. I
Mhm.
actually disagree. If you wanted to take Carr, you could. In my opinion, it's more important to think about the positional strategy of tight end because ultimately one of Zach Wilson, Mac Jones, Tua Tagovailoa, Malik Willis. I think one of them is going to emerge as a starter, and we can get them later.
Okay, so I'm fine waiting as well. I was just asking because I
Sure.
feel like Trey Lance is probably the most the most unsure I am of a quarterback that could be elite, right? Especially in
Hmm.
this season.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay,
It's
so you
definitely a
wanted to go
future pick.
with Alberto.
That's my pick.
Okay, I agree. I like Alberto as well. So you want to double tap tight end here? We go Alberto and Hunter Henry.
That's if he's next in your dynasty rankings, I've got no problem with that.
Yeah, him and Irv Smith would be pretty close. I think Hunter Henry is immensely safer, but I think Irv Smith, like I had high hopes of Irv Smith last year. He gets hurt, but I think maybe with a healthy season, he really could do a lot this year and going forward.
I know you like Hunter Henry. You're talking me into him, and now he's on this dynasty team. Hit it.
All right, Hunter Henry. What do you think about David Njoku real quick as well? We're not going to take a bunch more.
This year, fine. I don't know. The first round draft capital is great, and he's made some athletic catches that have caught Twitter's attention. But ultimately, he's just a player that has kind of underperformed based on draft capital, like that whole epic first round class when he came in. And a path to targets is better this year, but there's still target competition. It's definitely tough.
If we wanted a quarterback, we just got absolutely screwed because Derek Carr, Kenny Pickett, Tua, and Mac Jones all came off the board. Now we still got Zach Wilson, Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis, Desmond Ritter.
Yeah, don't we also are like players like Matt Ryan still available? Like we can get 1 year or 2 years, and then we got that great first round class of 2023 coming into the league next year. We can hit him in a rookie draft. Not super duper concerned.
Okay. All right, so where are we looking here then? It's
yeah, maybe
round
Tom
12.
Brady was the pick, just to short up, but oh well.
It's okay. Where are we looking here?
Best flex available to me. Who we got at ADP? But top 5.
DJ Chark, Jalen Tobert, and then McCole Hardman, Keontae Ingram, Russell Gage, Odell. I think actually at this point in the draft, with all the receivers we have, I would be fine taking a shot on Odell. But again, that is not the younger thought process.
Well, I'm fine with Odell. Let's do it.
All right. Let's do Odell. I also kind of like Kenny Galladay. I'm talking myself back into Kenny Galladay, thinking that, oh, you know what? They gave him so much money. He was good in Detroit. Maybe last year it was just Joe Judge being a dumbass as to why he wasn't good. But I think Odell's definitely the pick over Galladay, though.
Yep.
All right. So we went with Mr. Odell Beckham Jr. After that, we see Zach Wilson and then Jalen Tolbert. Seems like a lot of people are really high on Jalen Tolbert going forward. I'm not too sure I'm in that bandwagon.
Yeah, I think it's because there's an easy path for him to be in the starting lineup right away.
Yeah.
And if you're in the starting lineup for the Dallas Cowboys, you're probably going to score fantasy points. It's really that simple, right?
Mm-hmm.
Russell Gage would be a pick for me if you want to go wide receivers, if he's still there.
He is.
I think he could have a huge year, especially it kind of covers us for if Chris Godwin misses any time. Could go quarterback here because we actually don't have a ton of startability available to us. Like Jameis Winston, if he's still there.
Yeah, Jameis, Kirk Cousins, Malik Willis, Matt Ryan. I'd honestly rather have Matt Ryan over Jameis Winston.
Kirk Cousins is my next on my list. Feet to the
Me
fire,
too.
I think I might want Jameis.
Okay. So if you want to go Jameis, we can. And also something to bring up that we have not talked about at all. Are you looking at bye weeks at all when you're doing a startup? Because I do not at all.
Not one iota, not one scintilla.
All right, just asking. So you would rather go with Winston over Kirk Cousins?
Just because I've seen Winston have more QB1 weeks, but Kirk Cousins is probably good for quarterback 11, like not getting you a 0 at the position. I just don't think there's any league winning upside there.
Okay, yeah, I just view him as like a safety blanket, right? You just throw him in your lineup. He does all right. You don't really have to rely on him, but Jameis is fine. Jameis has significantly more upside, like you said.
Hit it. Famous
right.
Jameis.
You got Mr. Jameis, eat a W.
What if we have a future stack there with Odell Beckham possibly going to the Saints, as we've heard?
That'd be so funny. One of the picks that I really liked was Shakir, and he just came off the board, the receiver for Buffalo.
I like it.
Alrighty, so we're back
there
up on
goes
the board
Kirk
here.
Cousins.
where are we looking here? We do only have how many running backs we got? We got one, two, we have three.
Well, I'm sure you like Sony Michelle or actually, honestly, Gus Edwards isn't a bad dynasty play.
Yeah, I like Gus Edwards or Marlon Mack here.
To me, Marlon Mack is still a huge question mark in terms of what is his actual ability after coming back from that terrible injury 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Uh, Gus Edwards and Jamal Williams, I really have them all in the same exact tier, but it's the same tier of running back that was being drafted 2 rounds ago. So I feel like we're getting good value no matter who we go in this group.
All right, let's go with Gus Edwards because if we also have J.K. Dobbins, so it's also a handcuff.
Yeah, in Dynasty, I'm fine collecting a backfield.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you. I was wondering what your take on that was. I thought you were about to say that you hate that
No,
idea.
I don't mind at all because you just need one of them to hit. And, I've definitely been in situations where suddenly you're starting two. So I'm fine with Gus. Yeah.
All right, so we go with Gus, then LaVisca comes off the board. Shout out LaVisca. I mean, what a fall from grace for that guy. Everyone thought he was going to be this next top 12 receiver. Now he's coming off the board in the 15th round. And then Robert Tunyon. So we look in running back, receiver, tight end.
To me, it's DPJ all the way. But I bet you like Devontae Parker or Marlon Mack ahead of him. I think Donovan Peoples-Jones could have a huge season with Deshaun Watson, especially whenever he's at the helm.
Okay, I'll just make
Bell's
sure David
gone.
Bell wasn't available. Yeah, I'm going Donovan Peoples-Jones. I would have went. Would you go Bell or Jones first? Because I think we've talked about this, and it seemed like you were very close on them, and that you like Donovan Peoples-Jones more.
I am. I'm definitely higher on DPJ just because I've seen it before, and we get a quarterback upgrade. But
Alrighty.
David Bell could be a difference maker right away.
Okay, I agree with Donovan Peoples-Jones, though. We have seen some flashes out of him, and there really seems to be no clear number 2 receiver behind Amari Cooper right now.
Did we just get the entire, like every Raven except for Lamar Jackson? I kind of like that because collectively, especially with this many flexes starting in a league, somebody's going to pop. It's lowering our upside, but we're drafting for Dynasty, which is a head-to-head league, which means that we don't need a top 1 percentile score. We just need a 50th percentile score or better. I think the Ravens, especially with Lamar at the helm, can help us get back there. Now it starts to get into the slim pickings zone. Terrace Marshall is a player that I'm still very interested in, especially with the fact that Carolina has continued to spend limited draft capital on the offensive side of the ball over the last 3 drafts, really. And so the only major draft capital spent is Terrace Marshall. I know he didn't have a great year, didn't really flash much at all, but I think he's a post-type sleeper that I would like to take a chance on in the 17th round.
Yeah, I agree. Was that me and you who talked about Terrence Marshall or me and Gajeski? Because I think it was me and Gajeski. I really like Terrence Marshall a lot. I don't think Robbie Anderson really is the clear number 2 guy there. I think Terrence Marshall can eclipse him. And what we saw to Terrence Marshall in college was fantastic. Now, again, is he going to do what he did in college at the NFL? Who fucking knows? But when you're in the 17th round and you could take a shot on a guy with as much skill as Terrence Marshall, I love that pick. The sad part, though, is mono man Sam Darnold throwing him the football.
Just for a year. There's no way it's happening for more than a year. Just remember.
Oh, yeah.
That.
I know. Alrighty. So Julio goes in the 18th round. Man, I feel bad for Julio. His career really fell off.
Get the stretch, Julio. So this gets real tough for me. I have no faith in players like Kenyon Drake, D'Ernest Johnson, Keshawn Vaughn. To be honest, no thank you. Velus Jones is a player that if he wasn't 81 years old and he didn't go to the Bears, there's no way based on draft capital you would get him where he's going right now.
Yeah.
And so I'm almost inclined to take him since we do not need anything from our wide receivers drafted at this point. We need to just go running back kind of blindly after this, I think, just because we have so few at the position. But we've talked about this before. Let's look at this realistically. These last few rounds are churn players. I want players that I feel comfortable. If they show nothing, I drop them. And prospects are actually tougher to drop because there are multiple years that they could break out still. So let's make this last of our prospect picks, and then we'll go into our churn mode.
Yeah. Velus Jones was playing when the Flintstones were walking around the earth. So that is an
Mhm.
interesting pick. But also something to note is in dynasty leagues, there's a thing called the taxi squad. I don't think we've ever even talked about this. Velus Jones to me seems like the perfect guy you just throw on the taxi squad, and then maybe you know what? Maybe next year he really does evolve to be the guy. And they did put significant draft capital into him, so I like that pick. Even though, like you said, he's like 87 years old.
They don't even have a little headshot for him.
They don't have a headshot for any of the rookies, right?
Free Velas Jones. Oh yeah, they don't. They'll get them in at some point. You know they will.
Yeah, eventually. That'd be funny though if
AJ
Velus
Green.
Jones was the only one without one.
Yeah, that's what I thought for a minute.
Calvin Austin went in the 18th round. What do you think about him? Because it seems like the Steelers are just really good at drafting mid-round wide receivers.
There's limited upside in super small slots, but
Hmm.
hyper athletic, a wide receiver core that absolutely needs help with Juju leaving and with James Washington and Ray McLeod leaving. I actually think that Calvin Austin's 1-for-1 replacement in the offense is Ray McLeod. He had 9 targets in a game. Like, he was fantasy relevant a couple of games, but I think that is the most likely outcome for Austin. Um, I'm almost wondering if we should sort by like age and just take some older players. I don't really want a quarterback, to be honest. Ryan Tannehill is, I feel like, a waste of a pick.
So you want to look for the older players right now?
We don't actually have to. I was joking. Just players that I
Okay.
would feel comfortable dropping if they show nothing.
Okay. Yeah, because I was gonna say I don't even know if you can do that.
Amari Rogers is actually an intriguing player. I've seen some hype pieces about it. Now this is hype piece season. 5th-round pick. Green Bay is another team that could sign a free agent, but right now, I don't know how you couldn't say Amari Rogers couldn't get significant playing time. He absolutely could.
Yeah, I was looking for Justin Ross real quick because you brought up highlight, and I saw you see that video of him catching the ball with one hand. Wow, crazy.
It is so on for Justin Ross. I'm sorry. I'm drafting him in best ball all the time. It is
Yeah, he
so
was a
on.
17th round pick in this draft. So
You
where do you want to
you
go
all
here?
can have Sky Moore. I'll take Justin Ross. Go for it.
All right, you want to go Amari Rogers here?
Yes, sir.
Alrighty, I like Amari. I had a lot of Amari Rogers at best ball last year. It didn't work, but I mean the thought process was kind of sound on it.
And then to me, it's a running
Gotta go
back.
Duvernay.
Duvernay, sure. No, to me, actually, no, because we have just too many Ravens at that point
I know
for
that
a
was the
head-to-head
joke.
league. Oh,
It was a shitty joke then. It was an airplane
Right over
joke.
my
'Cause it
head.
went right over your head. All right, who you want to go here?
this is tough, man. I have a pick, but I'm gonna let you say your favorite first.
All right, let's see here. I kind of like, for some reason, I always draft James White. I don't know why. He just always falls to me in these drafts. I want to take him, but he's definitely not the pick here. I would go with Eno Benjamin.
And I was gonna say Darrell Williams because I believe Darrell Williams is the running back 2 in Arizona, and shows you
Okay.
how much uncertainty there is in the 20th round. But if you
Yeah, we'll
want
go Darrell Williams.
certainty, okay, I would be fine with James White too.
Okay, let's just go for the upside, right? Because we are in the 20th round.
Very
Connor
fair.
goes down. Maybe we see Darrell Williams suit up there. I like Darrell Williams a lot. Alrighty, so
Lot
the
of
draft. Oh, you can go.
Go-
Sorry.
Yeah, just a lot of mid-round picks that haven't panned out. And Sammy Watkins, man, I wonder if Sammy Watkins, as that 20th round pick, technically the wide receiver 1 in Green Bay right now. This is a lot of
He's
fun. Why don't you break down the squad for us?
All right, yeah, I was just gonna add real quick. Sammy Watkins literally is the owner of week number 1. Every single year in week 1, this guy he's like Randy Moss, and then like weeks 2 through whatever the end of the season is, he's just terrible. But shout out to Sammy Watkins. I love Sammy Watkins. So our team, to recap, our quarterback is Trey Lance. Our running backs are J.K. Dobbins and Chase Edmonds. Our wide receiver core is Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, Chris Godwin. Our tight ends is Albert O. His last name a little too complicated for me to pronounce, but I should learn how to pronounce it. The flexes right now, we got Treylon Burks, Rashad Bateman, Allen Robinson. Our bench is comprised of Devin Singletary, Hunter Henry, Odell Beckham Jr., famous Jameis Winston, Gus Bus Edwards, Donovan Peoples-Jones, Terrence Marshall, Velus Jones, Amari Rogers, and Darrell Williams.
You said that like an old-timey New Yorker. You're like, Amari Rogers.
Amari
I really
Rogers.
like it. Give me coffee. I liked it. That's a good squad right there. Now, quarterback
Very
is
good.
the part where I got to keep my fingers crossed that Trey Lance turns into the player we think he is. In limited sample size, it looks like he's going to rush aplenty for fantasy purposes. This was a whole lot of fun. that's what a Dynasty League winner looks like, ladies and gentlemen. That's all it takes. 20 rounds up, 20 rounds down. Nick, any last words about how this draft turned out? You like it?
Yeah, I like our team a ton. I think that it's just so interesting to look at how different this draft was compared to the draft we did in the Superflex League. It's so crazy how, like, in a Superflex League, sometimes you draft 4 tight ends or 4 quarterbacks, I should say, in the top 20 rounds, whereas here we drafted 2, and you almost, if it wasn't Trey Lance, could have just drafted 1.
Yeah, exactly. Well said. Well said. And it's very different in terms of the type of upside we try to capture in dynasty leagues than in, say, underdog fantasy drafts. Speaking of underdog, we are sponsored by Underdog Fantasy. Before we get out of here, remember to use promo code Awesemo when you go over to Underdog Fantasy. The Best Ball Mania 3 tournament out, $2 million to first, $1 million to second, and the first place points winner at the end of the regular season, and the just launched puppy contest with $500,000 to first place, just $5 to enter. Again, use promo code Awesemo when you sign up. We will be back with tons of dynasty coverage, tons of regular fantasy football coverage, and over on the Best Ball channel, tons of best ball content for you throughout the fantasy football season. For Nick Lepri, I'm Matt Savoca. We'll see you guys later.